Are you still afraid to use a circular saw? I'll give you tips so that you'll gain confidence in using a circular saw. This is a battery operated one. So if you've decided to buy, go to your hardware store which sells power tools. Try to get a feel of the tool you want to buy. Touch it, hold it in your hands, use both hands, imagine that you're cutting. The tips I will teach you will be applicable to both cordless or battery operated and corded. If you haven't handled the circular saw, you might be afraid if you try to put it on because it's really powerful. So in the hardware store, just get accustomed to the sound and the power it has. And then if you make your purchase, these are the tips. You will see a slot here, 0 and 45 degrees. When you're making cuts, straight cuts, you just look at the 0 pointer or the 0 slot. You'll be making straight cuts. When you want to make 45 degree cuts, you adjust the base to a 45 degree angle, and then you don't look at the 0 but the 45 degree slot. Okay, so you now bought your circular saw. You're now at home, so you just bought your circular saw and you're now at home ready to practice. First, get several pieces of scrap wood, 2x2, 2x3, 2x4, any scrap wood you have, and then practice. That's the only way you will learn how to use the circular saw. In cutting, you adjust the base of your circular saw. The circular saw, the blade should protrude about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch down. Don't adjust it so that the blade will be too low, but about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch down. When you're making adjustments, be sure to remove the battery. So there's an adjustment lever here, usually located here. So you loosen it by lifting it up. So that allows you now to position the base. Now, for you to be able to see the blade, you just lift this. Just do that. So the easiest method is to place it like that, lift it, and then put the wood there, and the extension of the blade below the wood would be 1/4 inch to 1/2 inches, 1/2 inch. So once you've located the depth of the blade, you just tighten this lever again by pushing it down. Okay, that's how you adjust the blade depth. Now if you're just cutting plywood, of course you have to adjust this for the plywood. See, the thicker the wood, the more blade you need. The thinner the wood, the less blade you need. Okay, so once you've adjusted it, remember to tighten this lever. So once you've adjusted the blade, put back your battery. Test that it would fire. you're ready to practice cutting wood. We'll be cutting 2x3. No, this is a 2x4. When you're a beginner, be sure to clamp the piece of wood you'll be practicing on. And be sure there are no nails, so check it. Because if there are nails, you'll be damaging the blade of your circular saw. So once you're certain that there are no nails, you can practice on the old piece of wood now. So mark the piece of wood you want to cut. We'll be cutting it here. We'll be cutting it here on the chalk line. I place it here because I want to be absolutely certain that there is no nail in this old piece of wood. So there might still be a nail embedded there. So well, let's play it safe. let's cut on this portion. So mark it. So we'll be cutting this piece on the chalk line. Now you decide whether you want to cut it on the left of the chalk line, on the right, so left, right, or on the middle. Consult the woodworking book to determine why you have to determine that, whether you cut it on the right, on the left, or in the middle. But what I will show you today is that you can easily cut wood, and you'll be gaining confidence in using your circular saw. Okay? The basic rule of thumb is to cut the wood with the motor on the supported portion. So this is the motor, that's the supported portion. The reason being that after you cut this part will fall to the ground. But I'll show you that you can cut it this way, you can cut it that way. It's just a matter of holding your circular saw firmly in your hands. So again, usually you have to cut it this way so that the heavy part would be resting on this clamp area. But you can also cut it this way. Just hold your circular saw firmly in your hands. So we'll clamp this properly and then cut this by looking at the zero mark there. So practice making several cuts with pieces of wood using both hands to cut. Now, after a few tries, you'll be able to cut the piece of wood with confidence. Now, what I will show you, I will not anymore cut this because I only have this as a sample wood, so I will not cut it because I need it for another project. So okay, supposing you've practiced cutting already, use both hands. So now what I will show you now is a technique where you can just use one hand and then you will use a square to be sure that your cut is straight. So position the zero mark on the line you want and then put a square beside it and then cut, while seeing to it that this side of your circular saw is always touching the square. Okay, so let's make the cut. Now, be sure that when you make the cut, don't start with the blade touching the wood. It should be about 1/2 inch away from the wood. And then that's the time you turn on the machine and then make your cut. Again, don't position the saw with the blade touching the wood, otherwise there will be a kickback. It will kick back like that. So again, position it on the line you want, and then retreat about 1/2 inch, and then that's the time you turn on your machine, and then slowly push your circular saw into the wood to cut. Okay, practice with scrap pieces of wood, and you'll gain confidence in using the circular saw in your DIY projects. Okay, time for coffee. Oh yeah.